Good evening, everyone. Tonight, the beginning of a significant community homelessness conversation, one that strives to search for solutions.
Our team spent months investigating what's working, including traveling to a city touted as having success, Houston, Texas. Our investigative reporter Mike Mason found how some say Anchorage might benefit from it as he begins our week-long series of special reports. Mike?
Yeah, Mike, we wanted to find out what process works the best when it comes to transitioning a homeless person into one who is being housed properly. It appears that Houston has managed to bring the community together in this way by setting a single clear priority, which is to move homeless people into permanent housing. And as a result, officials there say it's led to a 70% drop in homelessness.
It was a struggle, but I never gave up hope.
John Nichols is a military vet who spent 10 years of his life on the hot streets of Houston.
In my situation, I'm a widow and I had lost my wife. And I went into a depression, deep depression. This is my wife that's deceased.
Nichols spent most of those years living in an abandoned house. His struggles took a toll.
Alcohol and marijuana, pills.
But Nichols got assistance through the community's program to help homeless people transition from the streets to permanent housing.
The services are out there if you want them.
For the past 7 years, Nichols has been living at this apartment in Northwest Houston.
It's a blessing.
It's not congregate housing where homeless people are grouped together. It's an apartment where he feels at home.
I have a roof over my head. As you all can see, it's a nice apartment.
Go see your critter.
Tammy Dempsey also found permanent housing through Houston's coalition. She's been in her apartment just outside Houston in Conroe for the past 5 years. Before that, she spent 1.5 years in the woods, camped out in a tent.
I don't think I'd be alive if I didn't get into a place. The streets were not made for me.
Dempsey lives in a 1-bedroom apartment with her dog, Rosie.
I feel blessed.
Like Nichols, her rent is paid and she's now on disability.
Yeah.
The city's focus on permanent housing combined with supportive services help people apply, qualify, and keep housing.
I have a place to look and see my plants growing. I have Rosie here. Go and make dinner. Sit and go to sleep and not have to worry that somebody's going to come and hurt you.
So what can Anchorage learn from Houston about homelessness? In Anchorage, officials recently announced that by next year, the city will have over 300 new apartments ready for people to move in. But unlike Houston's leaders, Mayor Dave Bronson says permanent housing should not be the city's job.
I think the taxpayers should only be involved in the sheltering process because it's a public safety issue. You know, if you freeze to death on the street, that's a public safety issue. A shelter keeps them from doing it. Now, all the hotel conversions and the housing, the nonprofits are taking care of that, and they should.
Houston's focus could not be more different.
And quite frankly, it's not going to all happen at one time.
Houston Mayor Sylvester Turner says his community's decision to pour public funds into permanent housing and empower one agency to oversee the effort has led to moving thousands of people off the streets and keep them in housing.
You have all of these nonprofit partners in this space, let's say about 100 of them, that are working in alignment under the umbrella of the Coalition for the Homeless, The Way Home. And the city of Houston is right there at the heart of it.
The conversation about the Golden Line is very welcome.
Anchorage Assembly Chair Christopher Constant wishes Mayor Bronson shared that vision.
I believe for every dollar we spend on shelter, we should spend $10 on housing. And that's the bottom line, because every dollar we spend on shelter is a missed opportunity to actually end the problem and not just perpetuate it forever.
So what's a better investment for those dollars?
Housing units.
The mayor says finishing the navigation center would reduce the growing number of people dying on the streets of Anchorage.
Because the shelter would avert all this. That's the reality. I know it's political, but so be it. I really don't care. So I'm just looking for solutions. Go ask the Assembly and go ask ACH.
What's it like to be on the streets in Anchorage?
Cold. And everybody's out to get you, basically. And there's not very many people out there to help you.
Rocky Redding had been homeless in Anchorage for 8 years.
He lives at the Aviator Hotel in Anchorage, but will soon be moving to the Golden Lion.
Hopefully in 2 weeks.
It's not what he considers permanent housing, but as he struggles to get sober, it's a place he can begin rebuilding his life.
Your goal is to get completely clean.
Yes, completely clean and completely with my family.
Been clean and sober for over 3 years now.
Elizabeth Parrish was homeless in Anchor Point, then moved to Anchorage where she lived in shelters for years. She's an example of someone who got help finding permanent housing in Anchorage.
Yeah, I did.
She now holds down 2 jobs to make ends meet.
I work at Subway, and I also babysit.
She lives in a studio apartment.
I'm so thankful.
It's temporarily subsidized by a nonprofit, but soon Parrish will begin paying her own rent.
I plan on staying there.
She's grateful for the help she received, but says Anchorage needs to do more for others.
Not enough consistency in the system that we live in that allows permanent housing situation, not just temporary, but permanent.
But city leaders in Anchorage are still disagreeing over the fundamental question of what kind of housing to provide.
I don't think we should be building homes for people. I think the nonprofits should be doing that.
That is manufacturing a fantasy.
Until there's a consensus, Parrish's call for a consistent policy remains just a hope. Meanwhile, in Houston, Mayor Turner offers a stern warning.
They have to align and not be competitive, because it takes all of us who are working in this space in order to be successful in housing a person or a family.
Houston's mayor says the city has over 100 organizations all working together to end homelessness. He admits it's a challenge to keep politics from hindering their efforts to remain cohesive. Coming up tomorrow, our series explores how Houston manages to largely avoid that problem.
Well, Mike, in your report, you saw formerly homeless people who have moved into real apartments. How does Houston measure success when it comes to their housing program?
Well, Houston considers their efforts successful if a formerly homeless person is able to stay housed for at least 2 years. Officials say since beginning their program back in 2012, about 90% of those people have remained in their new homes for at least 2 years.